episode 58 with LJ Loach. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Chase Chewning, and this is your weekly source for inspiring content from people who are putting a purpose to their passion and truly living a life ever forward. This is Ever Forward Radio. And we are back. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode here of Ever Forward Radio. Now, here we are back on another Monday. Well, if you're listening to this on release day, it is Monday, February 26th, and we are about to wrap up the first 2 months of the new year, 2018. We're already getting into the home stretch here of Q1 for all my corporate guys out there. It's funny, I'm actually using Q1, 2, 3, and 4 to create my year as of now, my personal business and how I'm working with a lot of my private clients and group coaching clients. It's funny, some of those things you think you're going to shake when you become your own boss and you're working for yourself. But I guess there's something to be said there, right? Something that's working in business can certainly have a carryover into your own world, whether you're working for someone or yourself. So this week's iTunes review of the week is actually going to be from a little while ago. I was going back through the reviews. Again, if you're a iTunes user or listening on your iPhone, you can certainly leave us a review, leave us a little 5-star rating, and this puts you in the running, so to speak, to be shouted out on air. I always like to do these iTunes reviews each and every episode. And I was looking for one that would maybe be a little pertinent to some recent developments and the direction of the podcast. And that is, now that we're getting into these 2 episodes a week, I'm really trying to make one a guest, one myself. And one thing that I've been really building up and kind of formulating, semi-scripting, is to develop a few standalone episodes on what I'm going to call just some master classes, some How to Health 101 on some really key topics that have really brought value to my life, just some ways that I've increased my intent and my focus on my sleep, my physical activity, my exercise, my nutrition, my relationships, and just develop kind of a health 101 for these specific topics. And one that is coming up very, very soon is all going to be about sleep. So this review is about our previous episode with Dr. Michael Brues, all about the power of knowing when to go to sleep, when to wake up, when to basically do anything and everything in your life. Such an incredible episode, a great scientific insight into the science of sleep and the science of your body type and the best ways and times to really do anything. Can't recommend that episode enough. Go back and check it out. Dr. Michael Brues, I'll leave that episode information in the show notes below. You can also check out his book, The Power of When. That will be linked in the show notes as well. So this review comes from back in July of 2017. This comes from user Sam Shep 555. And Sam writes the title of this review, How to Improve Your Sleep? ? I'm Ron Burgundy? No, I'm just kidding. I threw that part in. Sam writes, the episode on how to improve your sleep was so good. Multiple O's there. So good. So much value. I can't wait to listen to more. Well, Sam, if you're still a part of the Everforward community here, which I hope you are, stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to be diving into these master classes, these How to Health 101s on just key topics and areas that I really think we all could use some refreshing on, some re-education, or some education maybe for some of you who don't know. You're not aware of the best ways to just make your body work in the best way possible, or at least in ways that I've found personally and professionally speaking in all of my years as working as an exercise scientist, if you will, exercise physiologist, health coach, nutritionist, personal trainer, all the above. These are just some great ways that we can bring heightened awareness to our lives to optimize our daily function and just be a better human being, feel better, look better, do better. And Sam, in the meantime, if you can't wait for that sleep episode, one thing I can recommend, and that is getting into kind of a sleep ritual, a bedtime ritual with today's sponsor, Four Sigmatic. Now, you all have heard me talk about their coffee before, their mushroom coffee mix, this incredible blend of a 100% Arabica coffee, as well as lion's mane and chaga, these incredible mushroom elixirs put in there for just cognitive enhancement. But I want to highlight their reishi mushroom elixir. Reishi mushroom elixir from Four Sigmatic is my latest and greatest and most favorite way to just wind down at the end of the day. It's quickly become my replacement. I've always been a big fan of chamomile tea, that classic sleepy time tea, but I've since kind of transitioned to using this reishi about an hour or so before bedtime. It is just an incredible tasting herbal blend. It is a great way to just transition from the day's grind into the evening and getting ready for bed to just, basically we like to call this a little yoga for your brain. It includes some really simple, straightforward, effective ingredients. You look into the ingredient list, and like I talked about before, anything you're putting into your body, supplement, whole food, whatever, it is always great to go with something that has a short list of ingredients. And we're looking at only 4 things here, people. We're looking at organic reishi, organic mint, organic rose hips, and organic tulsi. Tulsi is their new additive. This is an upgraded recipe, a flavor enhancer, because they've since removed stevia from the kind of the sweetness aspect of it. Tulsi is a really great natural, it's actually called the queen of herbs. It is a great just natural sweetener. So you're getting really minimal ingredients, but man, this stuff, put it in some hot water about an hour before bed. I cannot even begin to describe how just relaxed I get. I am just so ready to just wind down, open up a book, relax, separate myself from the day, my phone, my screens, and just ease into bed. It is so relaxing. I drink it straight up. I've also prepared it for my wife with a little bit of honey. We can even add some agave nectar. But Reishi Mushroom Elixir from Four Sigmatic, they're going to hook it up. You can actually get 15% off using code EverForward at checkout, or just head over to foursigmatic.com/everforward and go to their mushroom elixirs and look for the reishi. You're getting a box with about 20 packets in it. I don't know about you guys, but I can certainly relate to 20 days out of the month where I could use a little boost in winding down, de-stressing, and easing into my sleep. All right, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you prepared for this week's episode? We're diving into a conversation with LJ Loach, Miss Laura Jane. LJ is a Canadian native, although these days, if my social media stalking is correct, she's actually down in Australia. Or at least I know she was visiting. I know her and her boyfriend were prepping a school bus to drive all over the country. It's going to be doing some handstands across America, and you'll understand that reference once we get into the episode here. But LJ is a really young, incredibly passionate, and empowered young woman who is looking to help others become more self-empowered through the act of inversions. Now, at first glance, this just looks like handstands, but one look at her Instagram page and her social media, you'll see this is way more than handstands. The things she is doing with her body and just gaining a unique perspective by literally turning her world upside down. And that's what this message is all about. So we're going to be talking with LJ Loach. Like I said, you may know her as the Inversion Addict on Instagram and all of her social media platforms. But a really great conversation with just someone who has a lot of clarity for being so young and doing great things already with her platform. So let's dive into this conversation with me and LJ. All right, so I'm here with LJ Loach.
Yep.
She is all the way up north. She is much colder than I am right now. We were just talking about, of course, the weather, getting all the weather small talk out of the way. And I no longer feel bad about complaining about, or I can't feel bad about complaining about the cold because she's like, yeah, we're in the negative. So LJ, welcome to EverForward Radio.
Oh, thanks for having me, Chase. It's exciting to be here.
I got to ask though, and the more we get into this conversation, the audience will understand. Are you conducting this interview upside down?
No, I'm not. Though, I could probably do a portion of it upside down. Yeah. So my name's LJ, or Laura Jane, I guess is my full name, LJ for short. And on Instagram, the Inversion Addict, because originally my Instagram, I was upside down all the time, like you said. And at the time that was like, being upside down is kind of turned into my identity because it was my place to start to transform my life. So the Inversion Addict, Laura Jane, LJ for short, whatever you want to call me.
Yeah. So talk us through, why are you upside down? What is this life you're living from the ground up in a different way? Yeah.
Well, so basically started, so I'm very young right now. I'm 20 years old. I'm about to turn 21. So, as people keep on saying, the world is my oyster. But about 3.5 years ago, when I guess I was mid-17, I was in a really low place and I was really down. And I was actually at such a low place in these teenage years, like grade 11 type thing, that I was starting to think that like that was just going to be my life, and that I was just going to live a whatever life. And a part of that whatever feeling was, so I went from being a very active child that had a huge imagination to all of a sudden, kind of losing that childhood environment because I was getting older and starting to gain weight, and I didn't know how to get physically active. And I grew up in the country and I didn't have a weight room near me, and I didn't know what to do. So I was starting to give up. And it wasn't until I really started surfing the web, looking at YouTube, looking at Instagram, that I kind of stumbled across something that piqued my interest. And that was a photo of a yoga person, I believe it was Laura Sikora, doing a headstand. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, yeah, it would be pretty cool to be able to do something like that, which was really far out of my reality at the time, because I was just, I was in a really low place. And I think it's something that in North America, I can really speak to North America because it's mostly the people that I'm interacting with. There's so many teenagers that are so unhappy, that are really probably living amazing lives and have tons of things to be grateful for. But there can almost be a lack of direction in that. So I found this little tiny bit of direction with wanting to learn how to do a headstand. And when I finally got to my first headstand, which took me about 2 months, it was like the most uplifting, relieving feeling in my entire life. And it was just like something clicked for me. It was almost like an ever forward moment where I was like, oh my God, if I believe in myself, I can do something I never thought I'd be able to do. And then the second that I got that first headstand, I created my Instagram, and I started to share my progress, because I was like shocked at how hard I was being on myself and how negative I was being about my life. And then all of a sudden, to me, it was just like, oh my gosh, like I can only imagine how many people are in the same headspace that just don't believe in themselves, don't believe that they're worthy of learning something new, and they just write themselves off. So it became like screamingly clear to me that I just needed to share what I was doing just to even help one other person feel the same way. And that was kind of how it all started. And now years later, it's like snowballed into doing handstands, and now my headspace is I can accomplish absolutely anything if I'm willing to put in the work. So that was kind of a long explanation of how it started.
No, I love it. It's beautiful. So many things to kind of unpack there of, first of all, having this amazing sense of awareness, especially at such a young age, I think is a rarity these days. You have this sense of awareness of looking at the world through a different set of lenses and really seeing what's going on, seeing this surface level type of happiness you were talking about, but really seeing through that in the sense that so many people are unhappy. And sometimes they seemingly probably don't have the right to be, they're living these happy-go-lucky lives or achieve certain levels of success, but there's true pain and hurt underneath a lot of that. And then going from that and then stepping into wanting to kind of get uncomfortable yourself. And not only did you just seek out a goal, a task, a challenge, but probably one of the most physically demanding ones. I mean, I sure as hell can't do a handstand. And I know it takes a long time to do something like that. And then accomplishing that, but then really translating it into a lot of other areas of your life that I'm hearing. So it's not just the fact that you were able to do something physically that a lot of people couldn't, but that it built up this confidence. It gave you this sense of self-worth and self-efficacy to then go on and apply it in a lot of different ways. So What was it specifically about the handstand that was so challenging for you? But then also, how did you translate that into these other areas of your life?
That's a good question. Well, I guess just starting out, for me, I really identified with the challenge of the headstand, forearm stand, handstand challenge, which is like a physical strength, it doesn't require anything else other than yourself and your mind and showing up for myself and the type of person that I am. It totally resonated with me. And it clicked. And I guess that's the very first thing, is stumbling across that thing that clicks with you, whether it's like surfing or doing a handstand or lifting weights, finding that physical activity, because it's the physical world where we first make our breakthroughs, right? It's when you first make that physical breakthrough that you start to dive into your mind. So for me, I had my first physical breakthrough when I did my first headstand, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into as far as how it was going to transform other areas of my life that are so not even related to, being upside down on the ground. And yeah, that was exactly it. It was like I found my thing, and then it just gave me all of this confidence. And when confidence like washes into your life, it impacts every part of your life. So I would say, like, just for starters, keeping an eye out or an ear to the ground within yourself, listening to what, gets your heart racing, what gets you excited, something that, pulls you forward. Because before I experienced that feeling, when I would think about physical activity and fitness, and getting in shape, I always thought about like these horrible, like 20-minute workout videos and like stuff that like just
the fitness horrors.
Yeah. Stuff that I didn't want to do, or like running on a treadmill for hours. And like, I always thought about fitness as something that it would be like I'm being like pushed at it, like, or you know what I mean? Not something that is enjoyable. So to find something that was enjoyable opened up the possibility to me that, okay, maybe a challenge is a good thing. Maybe
what you just said, I think, is a huge takeaway for people, whether it's, trying to get started on a fitness journey or set a new goal, any new thing you're trying to set before you, or you want to accomplish. You said it was this thing you felt pushed towards. Yeah. And I think that's a dead giveaway that what you're doing may not be the best way to accomplish that goal, or maybe how you're going about that process isn't for you. You felt pushed into the gym. You felt pushed into doing these horrible 20-minute workouts. But what you need to do, what you should do, is do your due diligence, do your homework, and find the thing that pulls you in.
Yeah, exactly.
Find the thing that is already there, that is already attractive to you and pulls you in, instead of this outside force pushing you towards it. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you listen to that, part of yourself, you're listening to your authentic self, and you're tapping into something that is actually sustainable, because something that you do not enjoy, you're not going to do for the rest of your life. And you're definitely not going to do it multiple times a week. And if you force yourself to do something that you don't enjoy for a long time, a lot of times people just give up and walk away, and then they end up saying that wasn't for me, or physical activity wasn't for me.
You build resentment too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you build resentment against yourself, because you're like, why don't I enjoy this? My friend's telling me I should like this. So that's something that I'm really even wary of when I'm teaching, or when I'm encouraging people to do inversions, to get upside down, is that, like, the first time that I maybe practice a headstand with somebody that's never done one before, I really pay attention to their excitement levels. If they're like stoked and they're fired up and they're so excited about what they just did, it's like awesome. And they're usually the people that are going to keep on going with it. But if, they do it, they're discouraged, it wasn't really for them, I'm not going to keep on pushing at them to do headstands. It's not for them. They enjoy something else. So that really is the first step. But yeah.
Were you fired up? Were you kind of like hesitant going in, or were you like that stoked and excited to jump on your head and look at the world upside down?
I was super excited. And looking back at this, it's hard for me to even imagine where this excitement came from for me, because I was just in such a blah place at that point in my life. I was in high school, but I wasn't actually going to the high school. I was doing a 4-period co-op, which means that I was basically out of the high school working in the store all day. And then I did my second semester from home, because I didn't want to, actually got so, and I'm a very extroverted person. I got so unhappy and inside of myself that I ended up just shutting down and basically leaving the high school. So for me to try to believe in myself was a really, really big thing. And I can literally still hear my parents' artwork shaking every single time I would fall on the ground in the living room trying to do these headstands. I would just like thud, and I'd hear the whole house shake because it was also heavier than I am
I'm
now.
sure they love that. They're like, LJ, why couldn't you get a different hobby?
Straight up, though, they're definitely really nervous. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing? You've never done this before. You're like making the whole house shake. You're slamming down on your back. Like, are you sure this is going to be okay?" And when I finally got to that first headstand, I cried. The first time I did a headstand, I cried. Beautiful. I was stoked. It was tears of happiness.
Walk us through those stumbles, though. Walk us through every time you didn't get it right, because I'm sure there were a lot. Walk us through that journey and the uncomfortableness and I'm sure discouragement, but staying true to your word, staying true to your goal, and making the accomplishment so much more worthwhile. Walk us through the dark times of that journey.
Absolutely. So, with anything that really challenges you in life, everything in life ebbs and flows. There's no such thing as a constant, steady uphill increase in skills. So what I found was, the first few times that I fell before I had any success, before I had gone my first headstand, it was really hard to keep on practicing the next day when I hadn't gotten it the day before. But by focusing on form and by focusing on things that I felt I did have control over, I still felt like I could learn something every day. So I really had to find happiness and like victories in those little wins, like a little form win. Like all of a sudden I realized like, oh, I need to squeeze in my elbows more. I really had to celebrate every time I figured something out because it got me that much closer to my goal. So when I finally got to my headstand, it was amazing. But then the next day I couldn't do a headstand. And I was like, what? And that was when I first really started to learn that, just because you get something one day doesn't mean that you just have it. You have to keep on working at it. And when something works, you have to take note of why it has worked. So I went through many months of, okay, why didn't this work? Why did this work? And there would be days and practices where I'd be super frustrated, super pissed off, really kind of mad at myself. And the only way I could get through that was by, removing myself from the physical side of the headstand and the task that I was looking at and realizing that, okay, this isn't just a physical activity. This is also a really big opportunity for me to improve myself mentally. And that's when I started to kind of dive into like meditation and visualization. And when things weren't going right, when it was getting really hard, just trying to like sit down for 10 minutes, just lay down, try to like get my brain back to a neutral place where I wasn't being so hard on myself, and then practicing again. Because that was the only thing that I knew, was that if I just kept practicing and kept paying attention to what I was doing right and what was wrong, I would make progress. And you just have to know that and trust that and know that it's worth it.
That's such an amazing echo of a lot of things that I talk about, personally. And I think I've definitely brought up on the podcast before, is that you have to really fall in love with the process.
Yeah.
You know that you're working towards a prize, a reward, a goal. But if you do not have the same affinity for that journey and that I hate to use the word grind, but that, just grinding out the work and just that journey it takes to get there, then the reward usually isn't going to be anywhere close to as enjoyable as you thought, or you're only going to get so caught up with that end result that you miss all those things you were talking about how you got there. When it goes right, taking note of what went right, what you did. When it goes wrong, taking the same note, how did this not work this time? What can I do better? And what I think is really unique in your story there is that you accomplished your goal, you got your handstand, but then the next day you said, you didn't, or even for a couple of days. And then you had to kind of probably check your ego a little bit. You're like, damn it, I got it. Why can't I do it again?
Yeah. And that's still happening to this day. So back then, my kind of inversion. So I guess for people that don't know, to be inverted is to be upside down. So that's why my name is the Inversion Addict. It's kind of a yoga terminology, I think. But with my inversions, with headstands, forearm stands, and then handstands, with every single one of them, the second I would get a breakthrough, the next few weeks was always this like filtering process of, some days I would get it, some days I wouldn't. With the consistency really only comes with time and practice. But to this day, like I got my handstand press, so walking my hips up and then being able to lift my legs up and into a straight line. I got that for the first time about 6 weeks ago. And
wow, look at you.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I actually did it. I was cold. I hadn't warmed up. I was just in my apartment. I turned to my boyfriend, Jeremy, and I was just like, I'm going to do a handstand press. And I got myself all psyched up and I just did it in the apartment. And it was awesome. But now still to this day, like it's really hit or miss. I actually didn't even try to do a handstand press yesterday because I was just like, I'm not going to be able to do it today. So I'm still going, like every time you improve and you have a new breakthrough, you become a little baby again and you have to be willing.
I love that.
You do. You just become a little baby and you have to be willing and ready to learn again. And it's that process is what you have to fall in love with because, if Chase, if you could just do a handstand right now, it wouldn't be exciting because it would just be like, oh, I just did a handstand effortlessly. Like I'm sure it'd be exciting, but
question. Sure. Yeah. I do them all the time in my sleep.
Yeah. Right. But it would be like, you wouldn't have, it's those months of like practice that make it so worth it once it pays off. And that's just that, I guess that's that trust that you build up within yourself, after like time and time and again of proving yourself right, that it's worth it. And that's what's so hard to cultivate at the start when you just don't know that yet.
And that's what I love about what you do. And, having done yoga a lot in my life, I love how they call it a practice. Mm-hmm. And this is something that's really been kind of rearing its head in my life in a lot of different ways. Call it awareness theory or just reading a lot of the same books or something, but just turning everything you do in life into a practice. Showing up every day and being a good employee should be a practice. Being a good significant other to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your spouse, whatever. Going to the gym, eating for your body type, eating well, whatever you do needs to be a practice. And I think that's where a lot of people would probably benefit from keeping this in the back of their head, that this isn't just something that you show up and this is just what I have to do. And I'm going to do it because I've done it before. Well, that's not always the case. That we're not always guaranteed the same success in everything we do, regardless of the fact that maybe we've done it before. And then when you do get that payoff, when your practice does turn into your prize, it's so much more valuable, so much more meaningful. Mm-hmm. And then even still, like that reward, the next day you could start back all over again. You could be a little baby crying on the floor because, you did this one thing yesterday. You've been doing this thing for so long, but now for some reason it's different. And I just think always keeping that practice mentality is that you never become the master. You're always just maybe a little bit more astute teacher than other people.
Yeah, exactly. And you are your own teacher. And that back when I interviewed you and we were talking and you were saying how one of the first things that you have your clients do is to really observe their lives and really just become conscious in their daily routine to see what they're maybe doing or what they're not doing. It's the same thing with our bodies when practicing anything that's really physical. Is your body really, you have such a big opportunity to learn from your body and what it's saying to you and your mind. And it really is up to us to listen to ourselves and to listen to what we have to teach ourselves. For anybody that, is wanting to practice this, to practice headstands, handstands, inversions, the absolute biggest thing is to start with headstands, and it is to start with the base foundation.
Walk us through this process. If I'm sure this is something that would ideally be done in person, because I imagine it'd be kind of a hands-on teaching, but how would someone go about wanting to do what you do? All right, before LJ gives away her trade secrets on the inversion, let's talk a little bit more about the Mushroom Elixir mix from Four Sigmatic. Now, like all the amazing products from Four Sigmatic, you can use code EverForward at checkout to save 15%. Simply head over to foursigmatic.com/everforward. This will all be down in the show notes for your convenience below. That is foursigmatic.com. You've heard me talk about the mushroom coffee, the way that I use Four Sigmatic to kickstart my day to just get me alert and increase my cognitive function. Reishi is the way that I use Four Sigmatic at the end of my day. Their mushroom elixir, it is a cup of chill, it is a cup of zen, it is yoga for your brain. Reishi is actually one of the most clinically studied mushrooms for improving sleep cycle. Have you ever heard the term circadian rhythm? Well, that is your body's natural rise and fall, your body's natural tendency to become more alert and awake during the start of the day, the rise with the sun, and the decrease of cortisol and increase of melatonin as the day goes on and the sun begins to set. One way that I found a better way to just keep my circadian rhythm in check is to incorporate reishi at the end of my day. Now, maybe you drink hot tea, a little sleepy time, some chamomile. This has been my replacement for that. It is great tasting. It even has an upgraded formula to use Tulsi instead of stevia. If you're like me and you value your sleep and you're looking for a way to just improve or introduce a bedtime ritual, I cannot recommend the Reishi Mushroom Elixir from Four Sigmatic enough. It is my evening ritual, just as their mushroom coffee mix is my morning ritual. Again, that's foursigmatic.com/everforward or use code EverForward at checkout to save yourself 15%. I recommend maybe even preparing a glass before your first inversion attempt. Help you calm down, de-stress, and just turn your world upside down, gain a new perspective, and then go to sleep, okay? Let's jump right back into the conversation with LJ.
See, what you basically is, regardless of your background, whether or not you did dance as a kid or gymnastics, or if you did headstands or handstands as a kid, that is awesome. If you didn't, that is also completely okay. I did no gymnastics, no dance. This has all been self-taught. And what that means is no matter where you are, you want to start at the very beginning. And the reason why a headstand is the very beginning is because between headstands, forearm stands, and handstands, headstands, you have the lowest center of gravity and the most contact with the ground. So you start with headstands because having a lower center of gravity is going to help you balance. It's also going to be the place where you build up your endurance for being upside down so you're not getting super lightheaded and dizzy every single time. It's where you learn how to align your body into a straight line. It's where you first just start to create awareness of what it feels like to be upside down. And you have way more strength and control there in a headstand than you do in a handstand. Once you're feeling confident with headstands, you then progress to forearm stands. And the reason why you wouldn't just jump to handstands is because forearm stands, you're getting your head off of the ground, but you still have lots of ground contact because you have your full forearm stand or your full forearms on there. And you can start to experiment with strengthening your shoulders and just bearing that much more weight onto your foundation. And you're also raising your center of gravity by about 4 inches compared to the headstand. So they're kind of like these baby steps to the handstand. And then once you have a very strong forearm stand, which is really challenging, especially for men, forearm stands are very challenging for men because of kind of how it requires you to have your upper body and the flexibility that it requires. But once you can master a forearm stand, you're like way closer to being able to get a handstand. And in each one of those things, there's something to learn that honestly, I could start breaking down, but it will go way too long.
I'm sure every step along the way, I mean, there's a teachable, learnable moment in every process. Yeah.
Absolutely. But it really is, it's just about respecting the foundation and having good form, just like in the weight room. You know, you have to respect having good form and a good foundation and not compromising that for your goals. So it's very relatable in that way, as well as I definitely recommend to people doing the main lifts and weight training paired in with inversion training as far as strengthening your core goes.
Yeah. Could someone do this just entirely as their form of physical activity and exercise? Or would you say they need to kind of have some other type of training rotated in?
Well, like yoga people do this. Like there's yoga people that just do yoga and do their body weight stuff and a lot of handstands and headstands and forearm stands as their only exercise. But what you'll commonly see in the yoga community is that people are usually fairly slender, and they, there's not like they're usually have pretty jacked backs and like arms, but maybe not as much the lower body. So it really is, it's up to you. It's up to whatever the person enjoys. I personally love feeling strong. So for myself, because I love feeling strong, pairing up weightlifting with inversion training just like makes sense. And it definitely improves my inversion training.
It works for you.
Yeah, and it works for me. But for people that just want, that are into the body weight stuff, maybe they live like way out in the boonies and they don't have a gym nearby, they can definitely be getting a very intense workout with just body weight stuff.
Yeah, the important thing here is that you're moving, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I try to instill in all of my coaching clients. And definitely, I hope this resonates for Ever Forward Radio listeners. We're in the fitness and nutrition and health categories here on iTunes. So there's no one set kind of paradigm we're trying to convey. It's, just find what works for you. LJ found what works for her and what resonates with her feelings and what was pulling her in to become active and have this practice that could help grow her self-confidence and self-efficacy and provide this platform to allow her to show up every day just as excited as she was the day before. And that's, I think, the biggest, most important thing people should strive for when finding, hey, do I want to go to the gym? Do I want to practice yoga? Do I want to be upside down like LJ? What is it I want to do that's going to keep me that excited day after day? And even if it doesn't, it's okay to shift. I'm kind of in like a fitness funk right now. I'll be totally honest. I've kind of gotten really bored of just showing up every day and just doing the same weight training, just, getting underneath the squat rack, pulling deadlifts. And so I've really kind of done a little bit of a shift. I really am enjoying a lot more body work. I'm doing more yoga and mobility. I'm doing just things to just keep me moving. Like yesterday, like, oh my gosh, I haven't done farmer's carries forever. And I am feeling it like crazy today. And I think that's part of the reason why I was getting bored with my routine was that I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't getting that physiological change. Maybe Chase, you were just slacking. Maybe you weren't pushing yourself hard enough, but just doing different things, it really just reignites that fire,
You're changing it up is so important. Like even within my inversion practice, I'm always changing up what my focus is, what I'm working on. And if you're willing to get super, and it's the same thing with weightlifting, if you're willing to get super mindful and conscious in your practice or in your training, you can always find something new that you can branch off of and work on. So if like somebody's deadlifting and they want to improve their back flexibility, they could then, spend a few weeks just focusing on their stretching and back flexibility. And you can find these little subcategories to branch off in that are going to benefit your other passions. And it can be a good way to kind of entertain yourself when you're looking for those changes of pace. You should try doing a headstand.
Oh man. Yeah. That actually that'll make for some really funny video content. So I might take you up for that.
Seriously though, you should do it, film it, because it can be a good before. And I'll link you over my beginner headstand video though, because
awesome. Thank you.
You definitely would be able to get it. But Jeremy and I were planning on doing a school bus conversion this next year and touring around North America in a short school bus. So
I love that.
We'll come stop by and we'll get a video of you getting into a headstand straight line.
Let's do it. Make your way down to DC. Let's do we'll do handstands across America. And,
yes.
We'll just get a group and we'll circle around the Washington Monument or something.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. That'd be sweet. I'm like literally I'm holding you to that.
I'm down. I love getting together with people and especially getting out of my comfort zone. In the physical world especially. That would be really cool.
Yeah. So one thing that I guess I just want to say, because I really think it's been one of the most important things for me is, physical activity is one thing, and our physical bodies and our nutrition and the things that we're doing in our life they're one thing, but then your mental health and how you approach things mentally it's a whole nother thing. And when we compare those two different kind of parts of ourselves in our lives together through an activity, you will make progress in ways that you just can't even imagine if you didn't do so. So people ask me all the time how I'm doing handstands when I have no background in gymnastics or dance or anything like that, how I taught myself that within 2 years. And the biggest key has been consistent practice, but then past that, it's been visualization and meditation and really, trying to cut through the bullshit in my own head that tells me that I can't do this, or I don't feel like practicing today. Or that, starts to wander off while I'm doing a handstand and starts thinking about grocery shopping. The mental strength side of it, being able to come back to your body, being able to focus on what you want to achieve, even if you just fell down 10 times before that, gaining that mental clarity, that mental strength, that is what has 100% taken my practice to the next level. And it's what is going to get me to every accomplishment I'll have in the future. The physical side of things is more of a side effect for me, like owning my shit mentally and, really trying to redirect my mind in a way that helps me. So that's been probably the absolute biggest tool for me. Just learning these things has just been like a byproduct of that mental shift.
LJ, that's beautiful. So true, so spot on. And it really resonates with one of my recent interviews. I had Dr. Jade Tita on. He's a big naturopathic physician, but he's a trainer. He's a jack dude. He helps people get through weight loss, weight gain. But his big thing is all about mindset. And in my conversation with him, I was just talking about how I wish that was taught first. I went through my trainer education, exercise science, whatever, but it all starts with, okay, show up to the gym, do this, show up in the kitchen, eat this. And then those things are like, and then you'll just kind of learn, habits, healthy habits, and just learn how you're supposed to think. Well, him and I were talking about how I really think that I wish that the teaching and the schooling and where his philosophy and my philosophy and yours, it sounds like, has really shifted to start first there. Mm-hmm. If you can develop that strong mindset, like you just said, the physical strength, that's just like an added bonus. That's just nice when you can pick something up and not strain your back or or not need someone's help. But, physical strength will come. The nutritional aspects will come. But man, if you can just nail down that mindset and stay strong and stay solidified in your mental approach to everything, that's true strength, I believe.
Yeah. And it's going to the root. It's very like, you can almost make a similar, when you look at modern day medicine, especially in North America, everything is very much so it's treating the symptom or the problem, right? They're trying to fix. Yeah. Throw a Band-Aid on it. And people oftentimes are doing the same thing with their physical health. They're just trying to throw a Band-Aid on it. Like, I'll go to the gym twice a week. Oh, okay. I'll eat this salad. They're just throwing a Band-Aid on it. And it's not until you go into your mind and you find out, why don't I think I'm worthy of being healthy? Or, why can't I shift this habit? It's not until you go there that you're going to the root cause. And if you can go to the root cause, you're not going to have to put on Band-Aids for the rest of your life. So that's like, that is my goal as an individual, is to constantly be trying to go to the root. And that's what I want to try to help other people do. Cause I just think we're living in a world of Band-Aids and, it's bullshit.
Yeah. I think you kind of just answered, my final question I love to ask everybody, but, in what you do and getting inverted and turning your world upside down, how does this help others live a life ever forward?
I think the power of believing in yourself, and that's what it's provided me, is something that will not only transform your life and keep you moving forward, but it will inspire and uplift absolutely everything and everyone that you come in contact with, even if it doesn't appear that way. Because we all know our friends and family can be, the toughest people to win over or to get on board with something new. But when you believe in yourself, when you believe that you're worthy of your dreams and your goals, that feeling, to me, it was my ever forward moment. And that's the feeling that I think when people feel that, that's usually theirs. And again, that can come through any activity. It doesn't have to be being upside down, but no matter what, it will come from something that, sparks your heart and makes you want to believe in yourself and believe in the fact that you deserve to live a good life. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
Absolutely. Again, what we were talking about earlier, just find the thing, or not necessarily, you don't even have to find it right away. Just start looking, start listening for the thing that pulls you towards it.
And
not
just
the thing you felt pushed towards.
And believe that thing is out there for you. Because before I started practicing these headstands and inversions, I didn't believe that was out there for me, because the schooling system, I didn't do well in school. I didn't do well in English, math, science. I was skipping school all the time in high school. I actually used to smoke cigarettes. I was living a very different life. And I really wasn't believing in myself. And I didn't probably believe that there was something out there for me to kind of fall in love with or find that passion, which is so ridiculous and so limiting. And that's why, it just goes back to that thought process and giving yourself the chance to listen for something that calls you.
Exactly.
That's really is the first step.
Beautiful. LJ, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on Ever Forward Radio. Where can my audience connect with you? Where are you hanging out most online? And I know you kind of hinted at trying to do a tour next year, but in the meantime, where can we connect with you?
Well, my Instagram page is at the Inversion Addict. And that is my main hub of inversion work. But I also have a YouTube channel that I think it's just Laura Jane Fitness. And there I have some tutorial videos of inversions, and I'm going to be putting out more. I have a forum stand one coming out shortly. But I want to build up that library more, so it's more of a resource. But in the meantime, my Instagram is probably the best place to get in contact. And if anybody ever has any questions about starting this, seriously, it's why I'm here and it's what I love to do. So just do not hesitate to reach out to me and connect.
Thank you. LJ, I'll link all that information in the show notes below. It's been great connecting with you again. And has my episode for your content come out yet?
It hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
It'll be coming out after the forum stand video, but I will let everybody know when that is up. And thank you so much for having me. This has really been a wonderful conversation, and I hope that it's provided some value.
Absolutely, for sure. And if this comes out after, I'll make sure to link that down below so they can find another way to connect with you and listen to everything else you're doing.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Chase.
All right, everybody, that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Ever Forward Radio with LJ Loach.